Now, before we break, I'm delighted to say that amongst our eminent guests here at the summit is Guenter Butschek, who's the CEO and Managing Director of Tata Motors. Now, Guenter joins us from India, and across 30 years of business experience, it includes stints at Daimler and Airbus. Guenter is known for successful business turnarounds and is currently leading one at Tata Motors. He is committed to the project of e-mobility, a great believer in the power of electric and e-bikes in particular, taking his own e-bike mountain to new heights in the mountains, from the Austrian Alps to peaks in India as well, which is incredible. Guenter's favourite piece of music, I've been told, is We Are the Champions, and today he is a champion of the global transmission to e-mobility, and we're delighted that he's able to come and join us and speak to you all here today. Guenter, very warm welcome. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everybody. I know it's a little bit difficult to see a German on stage and claiming for himself to be part of the Indian delegation and to actually take you from Oxford straight away to incredible India. And believe me, it's an incredible place, in particular when it comes to e-mobility. And although you might conclude, and I would not object to this conclusion, that e-mobility is on a very nascent stage in India. The question is, how do you actually approach the challenge? And at Tata Motors, we have given ourselves the theme when we got full steam into electrification some 2 years ago, across our range of products, passenger vehicles as well as commercial vehicles, in particular with focus on buses. We said we would like to proactively win in the electric mobility space. Why was such kind of statement important? We needed an appropriate mindset in the organization, and we needed a story to tell to our stakeholders and also to the market, why you actually get from something which is very nascent, full steam, into something which might come up, but at a point of time where we committed ourselves, it was not that clear. More as far as the story of India is concerned, in case I can't cover it in my 10 minutes, you're going to hear from the Indian delegation, because I assume we all sit on the same page, going to tell the same story. And latest tomorrow, you have the opportunity to talk to my colleague Mahesh from Mahindra & Mahindra. He has even a longer story to tell, because they decided to get into display already a bit earlier. But we all go through the same motion. What is this emotion? Was it a fair statement, Ryan? What is this emotion all about? This is, by the way, what you miss by the decision of the organizer not to use slides. It would have been a wonderful presentation. I gave lots of praise to my executive assistant, and then he came last week and said, no slides. So I'm gonna virtually take you through my slideshow, which is as much of a challenge for me as it is a challenge for you, because you don't see what I see, and I don't know if you hear what I would like to say. That's a different issue. So, pollution is the key challenge in India. It's the key challenge for us in the automotive sector as far as sustainability is concerned. There's another one that's called safety. We need to bring sustainable solutions to the Indian roads, because otherwise the dream, since we have just recently taken over Germany and became fourth in the international ranking of the markets, the dream to become number 3 was expected 4.6 million newly registered vehicles in 2023. Is rather going to turn into a sustainability nightmare than that it's actually going to deliver the dream we are all thinking of in the industry. Just a piece of statistic: 14 out of 15 most polluted cities in the world, unfortunately, in India. 25% of the share of PM 2.5 attributables comes from vehicular pollution. So there's no way, and you would never ever hear us in the automotive industry in India to actually question this fact, because this is meaningless, because the statistic is clear. And challenging the statistic is meaningless. You rather need to take the challenge. And if you do believe in a recently published statistic of WHO, in India, 1.2 million deaths related to the air pollution in 2017. You have possibly followed, I'm not quite sure how active the British media follows the ongoing debate in India as far as the two-wheelers and three-wheelers is concerned, advanced forced transition from internal combustion engines to electric vehicle solutions, stepwise then from the two-wheelers to the three-wheelers to the four-wheelers. It's only a question that we also get to the five-axle trucks in a couple of decades. But also this one is a very logical consequence of a piece of statistic, because 42 to 44% of the pollution that comes from the automotive sector comes from the two-wheeler, 13 to 14% comes from the shared four-wheelers. Personal four-wheelers have a contribution in 32%. So cutting long story short, pollution is a need and sustainability is what we actually need to answer. By the way, I would feel inclined to respond to your half-sentence statement saying if the manufacturers would do what they promise, but Mahesh, we have a task, because you actually see today and by his speech tomorrow we actually deliver even more than what we promised, because we take care of more than just four wheels and a couple of more axles. So why is the need of the hour? Electrification, because yes, there are optimization opportunities as far as the so-called baseline internal combustion engines, independent if you do talk petrol or diesel is concerned. You could also have a strong belief that hybridization is the right transitional scenario, but it's not going to get us anywhere as far as the urgent need of pollution reduction in India is concerned. So therefore, at the end of the day, you need to get, when it comes to the question how to reduce the wheel-to-wheel emissions in terms of gram CO2 per kilometer, that you need to go battery electric. That's something I think where we all had one common belief. So therefore, we share this belief, but it needs to go hand in hand with the way electricity gets provided, because otherwise the tailpipe emission difference is not that heavy. I just give you again a piece of statistic. If you are interested, battery electric, 225 a gram. If you actually take it to battery electric with 25% renewables, you are around 207. So total, not only what comes out of the tailpipe. And if you have 75% renewable, then you are on a sensational level of 69 overall emission. And this combination is actually what is going to force all of us to actually give priority and to invest in the build of an ecosystem most favorably. So the question is not just to go green, the question is to go green and clean. Only this combination is going to work and will finally justify the effort we have. There's always the question, what is going to be the journey as far as the regulatory environment is concerned? There's a corridor as far as the CO2 emissions are concerned. This is quite different if you look into the different countries. Europe is much more stringent in this regard than, for example, the US. India is about to close the gap, introducing BS6 in the next year, in 2022. We're going to get into the fleet emission world called CAFE. It's not coffee, it's coffee. So it's about the fleet emission. If you have a cup of coffee, that might actually contribute positively, as long as you don't have the coffee by Starbucks drive or McDonald's drive in. That would be counterproductive. But in reality, today we can have a long argument where we can say a share of 10% battery electric is okay. If you look into 2025, we could say we need a mix of powertrain, where the battery electric share should effectively increase. But if we take what we do know and as we see the regulatory environment as we speak, by 2030, then we have a primary need for battery electric vehicles. Otherwise, we are not going to get anywhere. Now to the Indian government. And part of the delegation that's with us is also from the Indian government. Indian government has done a fabulous job in the recent past. Yes, there are lots of these debates. Are they possibly a little bit too impatient with the industry? As an industry, are we going to be pushed too much? Honestly speaking, you can't be pushed enough in this kind of environment on this particular subject. But what you have possibly heard, the FAME 2, faster adaptation to electrification that even passed the parliament before the recently performed national elections in India, making 10,000 crores of subsidies available, has actually set the right accent, because the accent is on adaptation of electrification and mass mobility, which fits largely to what you have mentioned. So a strong focus on public transport as far as bus public transport is concerned, shared four-wheeler mobility, and no incentives at this point of time to the even more nascent stage of electric mobility in the private space. There we expect that we will see some freebies, so no registration fee, possibly no highway. Is this all going to be good enough to attract the attention? Not on its own, only in combination with the mass movement of mobility in the space of people transport. The factors that effectively drive the viability of electrification is the cost for the batteries, the increasing cost for the internal combustion engines because of the more stringent regulatory requirements, the significant advantage as far as the running costs are concerned, so actually the question of TCOs, and the advantage of less moving parts, which is a positive effect as far as the maintenance is concerned, which does not necessarily talk into a good portion of my overall revenue stream. But this is something which we need to accept, because otherwise we will not crack the challenge of electrification. The point is, we need scale. So therefore, you need to be impatient in this business in order to see the early invest in an early return, because otherwise you have absolutely no line in sight. And now I come to my answer to the question, why are we doing more than what we promise? Because our focus is not only of electrification of the mobility platform as such, a very, very strong commitment to actually build a complete ecosystem. So it's the product on the one hand side, which needs to provide many more opportunities than what is available, for example, today in India. It's just the two of us who currently provide electric solutions, but customers would like to have choice, independent if we do talk fleet customers or if we do talk private customers. And we have to go beyond. We need to focus on micro markets in order to bring electrification on the street. We need to provide the charging solutions, and we finally have to build a complete ecosystem which covers the entire value chain. We have made up our mind. I think we are not that far away from each other. We go for low-cost solutions, low-voltage solutions, conversion of existing vehicles. Next stage is battery electric protected vehicles, where we leverage the investment that exists from the ICE platform, and we just put an electric powertrain at the place it belongs in the underbody. But this is very limited in range. On the other side, you don't need that much range in the Indian environment. And then you need aspirational EVs, and that's latest the point where you need to get on a dedicated electric architecture, which is generally and casually called the so-called skateboard. So we need to find a way from affordability, which is one of the key roles in the Indian market. Otherwise, technology is not going to get in the market, will not be accepted by the customers, to aspiration. Because this is also one of the characteristics of the Indian customers. To get into it, because it's affordable, is the one part. But in the moment they get into it, they already start developing the aspirations, what is going to come next and what can actually be offered more. For Tata, it's not only a Tata Motors play. That's the reason why I said we are going to do more than what we promised. For Tata Motors, it's actually a group play, because what do you need as we actually see a very strong movement from a CapEx model to an OpEx model? You need to provide a solution which I call a peace of mind. So that means financing. You need to have the whole value stream, so battery, cell, and other components to be locally produced. You need insurance. You need the data platform, the data analytics, the connectivity provided with the vehicles. And you need to have the charging infrastructure. By coincidence, not because we had a blueprint for the strategic development of the competences of the group, all of these features exist within the Tata Group, and we currently play it intensively as a group in order to make sure that it works. Summing up, the need of the hour, a great place to be. India is as incredible as people always say, also in the space of e-mobility. And just in case there are some startups in the room, that's the place. India is the place to be, because we are seeking for frugal solutions and we have the scale. Thank you.